Welcome to ToV Live, and it is Valhalla time. Welcome everyone to the ToV live stream tonight, also known as the ToV Podcast if you're listening to this on the audio sphere, be it Amazon or Spotify. I think it's now Spotify. It's just like the website that I have on it is just like, I think it's just basically it's Spotify, which is fine. It's cool because it's free and it distributes everything everywhere. Anyway, thank you to all those listeners out there who listen, because I know I see the stats. There are people out there who listen. So thank you so much for that. Anyway, tonight we have a lovely podcast for you all tonight. I am Ryan, Tales of Valhalla, and we have Sir Joe of Crazy here tonight. And we have with us Jeremy, the Sir of Lore, and we have Jason, who is just a Sir. Rocker Robotics. Yeah. Anyway, so we feel that old. Jason, when's your birthday? When do you turn the big 4-0? Finally.
About 10 days.
10 days. Yeah.
Nah.
There we are. There. I knew it was coming up soon. Well, I think so. Next ToV podcast would probably be your birthday the after. So happy early birthday, and it'll be happy belated birthday for the next one, for sure. Yeah. Crossing that milestone. Woohoo! Yeah, Marion says March 29th with a big grin. Okay, yes. Hi, Marion on the chat. Lovely to have you with us tonight. And so, yes, tonight we are going to be, well, of course, talking a little bit about Thormun's journal. We're going to be exploring a hero or a squad, and the usual TV podcast stuff, because we talk about usually Heroscape, the game, the lore, everything we love about this, because we are just geeks and nerds at heart, and that's what we are about. And then tonight as well, we are going to look at another lore story from Ryguy, because gave me quite a surprise when, because last podcast I didn't call him out, but I just said it would be cool if you could write a short story, and I was actually basically saying it to anybody out there, who writes story. Do some type of story involving ToV's Airborne Elite, and that would be so cool to read. And he did it. Within 2 weeks, and it's a fun story. I've already read it. I was laughing. And so yeah, we're gonna read that tonight. We're gonna read another lore story from Ryguy. Yes, there are other people who write lore stories, and yes, eventually we will get to them. But we're gonna tackle this tonight because they're like, strike while the iron's hot. Why not? Let's do it. So first, how about we get to Thormun's journal? So let's bring that up here. Let me get this. And nope, that's not. That is the wrong window. Let's try this again, shall we? All right. For those of you watching live, I edited this stuff later, so I'm going to take a second just to pause, breathe, and then try to do that introduction to this segment again. All right, so let's get into the first segment tonight, which is Thormun's journal entry number 10. And so we got 2 paragraphs here. And so last time we were talking and this is actually an entirely new like printed book, because apparently they couldn't fit all the entries in one, or there's like updates or upgrades probably. Like some were probably written in years previous, like the first 9, like correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but this is just what my mind is thinking. Like the first 9 were probably written when the game was like originally created, and then these other ones like followed. Would that be accurate to say?
If I recall, the first 9 was written by Craig Van Ness, and then they hired a writer to take over, and then so that division is basically the separation between the entries that were written by Craig Van Ness and then the new writer that was hired, which I want to say was Mr. Bistro. But that's new information I got as of like a couple months ago, so I can't I'm not entirely sure because I didn't actually know who was doing what. But they did mention Mr. Beast wrote a lot of the post, like in the Swarm of the Morrow context stuff, which includes this part. So
Okay.
Because a lot of this came out afterwards. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. So journal entry 10. So it's like if you're downloading these, and there is a link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're downloading these, they come in like I think 4 separate PDFs, and this is the second one. And Jandor's orders, or Thormun's journal, quote unquote, and then Jandor's orders entries 10 through 20 in this one. And so we're going to start journal entry 10. So who wants to take a shot at the first paragraph there?
I got it.
You got it, Jeremy? All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Much has happened since my last journal entry. After seeing the Morrow Horde and Blade Gruts, Raylan and I decided to separate. She flew north to warn Jandar's northern army led by Sergeant Drake Alexander. I flew east over the Sigling Sea to make sure there was not a second assault wave of evil warriors. We were fearful that Utgard may have taken Ekstrom by then.
All right. Joe, do you want to do the second?
Certainly.
Alrighty.
This is it sigilling?
Sigling. I say
sigling?
Sigling.
Yeah.
I've never seen that word before. The Sigling Sea is a great sea. So I gratefully island hopping along the way to preserve my strength on one of these islands. I noticed 4 Kyrie flying toward me from the south, observing them from the safety of a towering evergreen. I was relieved to see the silver and blue armor of Jandar's army, and I flew to greet them. It turned out to be Jandar himself. Accompanied by Konkan, the Tyrant, and Kelda, Jandar reacted quickly to the information that I passed along to him and began giving us orders, which I relate in detail in my following journal entries. So we're getting cliffhangers now? What is this?
We're getting a setup. This is basically just setting up for what's to follow, I think, basically.
Yeah.
So everyone's got to wait 2 weeks. Following... Wow.
Well, so the funny thing is about this journal entry, or at least this portion, if those remember from earlier podcast episodes, we were told by Carmine that this particular portion of the Thormun's journal was what they were basing the current Age of Annihilation on. So, yeah, they were using what was going on here to kind of like base their current production and the Age of Annihilation plot device. So, it's interesting because it's like, you know, you have this fragment from the past. They used to release these in, like, I remember it was in like packets, I guess you could say. Like we would get like 5 entries at a time, 4 entries at a time, and they were accessible through the original Heroscape website, you know, good old Heroscape.com, when that was actually a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, these entries, I want to say, when they came out, they came out before Swarm of the Morrow, but they were working towards setting up Swarm of the Morrow, if that makes sense. Because then, like later on, that's when we see all that stuff happen. So, but yeah, this is it's a fun little artifact, I think, of the Heroscape era, because of the way they were leading things up in the future.
Right. Let me see here, and I'm sorry for those of you if you're watching this on YouTube, and you're seeing like the journal entry on the screen in front of you. The lettering might be small because I'm trying to zoom it up a little bit, but usually I would have time to adjust this, and I just did not have time to set up anything much. I had set up really quickly tonight, so if you're squinting, I apologize. But let's see here. I want to ask something. When Raylan separated, then where did Thormun go?
Thormun went east.
So he went east.
He was
now
yeah.
On the map. Where's the Sigling Sea? So if I like
so
go
there's
down
a
here.
body of water. Yeah, there's a body of water in between. It's like right in the middle of all of those. Lauer, Nostrland, Ekstrom, Austria has 2 little islands in it.
So it's this big. It's one of the biggest body of waters there in Valhalla.
Yeah,
right?
Right there.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
it's got two. It's got 2 islands.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He said island hop, so I'd imagine there's probably like tinier
Yeah.
ones.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's tinier ones, and then these are just the bigger ones in there. I would imagine.
They got discovered.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
he flew over that.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, there's your visual reference there. That's where that is. Okay. I'm gonna bring this back up here.
Yeah, I don't think they mark it until the 2nd edition of the map, which was the one that they put in Tikala Jungle. Good old days.
And so, what significance is of the Sigling Sea, and why is it named that way? Do we know?
As far as we know, Sigling is either someone important to the Valhallan culture, because most of the names we get are either people that we actually meet as characters or like legendary figures, like Thormun. So I'd imagine, just following that naming convention, I think most of the names we get are from like ancient Valhalla lore characters that they just either would have revisited in the future with new sets or something like that. Because we do see a couple of these names pop up, and even in the journal entry, they mentioned Konkan, Tyrion, and Kelda. We have Konkan and Kelda as characters, and Tyrion was more of like a narrative character. There's no spoilers, but yeah, Tyrion's not here for a reason. Yeah. We'll see. We'll get there. But I mean, it's interesting to kind of see, because like I feel like they were building it up as they went along, and they were introducing these characters over time and would revisit them when they had the chance. And then of course, when they shut down, I was like, these names kind of just float in between. So up to your imagination. But I would think it would have someone important in Valhalla history.
All right. Ekstrom, that city. Do we know anything about that? Have we talked about that city before?
Yeah, that's Uller's province.
Okay.
That he's in charge of. He's Arch-Kyrie of that landscape.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So government control over that area.
All right. Any other observations from anyone else on this?
No, I'm just upset that we're not reading more.
Well, look,
I'm into cliffhangers. I'm a story guy. Okay, I like a good story, but man, leaving these people on another 2-week just to get a setup of Thormun flying on the ocean, seeing his pals, seeing Jandar and the group of Kyrie gang. And he's like, all right, guys, I got some details for you. Until next time, I'll see you guys. Like and subscribe. I'd be like, what are we doing? What?
Okay, okay, Joe, your wish has been heard, and your wish has been granted. Okay, let's.
No. We gotta stay on a time schedule. We gotta move on to the air elemental. All right, we don't have time for this.
When you were talking, I looked at the clock, and we do have actually extra time left. So
no. We gotta make everyone wait now.
My name is Tales of a Hal, and I've spoken. If that carried anyway, I don't know. But I do control the buttons. So
no.
Okay, wrong window. Okay, so and this will give me and Jason a chance to read. Journal entry number 11. Let's just do that. Okay. So Jason, next paragraph here. All right. Good luck.
All right. You guys gotta stop laughing. You want me to read, so
go ahead.
Take your time.
Go ahead.
It's Joe's fault.
It's all Joe's fault. Fair enough. Jandar's orders begin as follows: Konkan, Tyreen, and Kelda and Thormun, you four must convince the other Valkyrie that we need their help in the war against Utgar. Weeks ago, I sent emissaries, but I have had visions that they were intercepted and executed. Utgar's forces are growing in Lauer and Upper Bleakwood, and we will not win this war alone. Tell the Valkyrie that it's only a matter of time before Utgar's hordes invade their lands. There are 3 known Valkyrie who are also Archkyrie. Ular of Ekstrom, Vidar of Annan, and Einar of Lindisfarne. Go to Ular first, for he is the closest to us and is our best hope for immediate help.
Yes, calling on the elves. Okay, my turn! Okay, what I now tell you is vital and confidential information about the well springs. Ooh. It must be shared only with the Valkyrie, who pledge their support in the war against Utgar. As you know, the water from the well springs. What does that say? Halts. I thought it said hates.
Halts.
I thought it said hates for a second. Halts. the aging process. It also hates the aging process too, but halts the aging process, makes us stronger, and gives certain Valkyrie visions and special powers. 6 known Valkyrie receive visions: Utkar, Thormun, Einar, Ular, and Vidar, and me. As Kyrie, they shared their visions with the High Council of the Archkyrie, and were each given the title of Valkyrie. It still kind of leaves it at a cliffhanger, but that's as far as we're going to go. So that is journal entry.
There you go, Joe. Another cliffhanger. Enjoy.
11.
Honestly, at least we got information out of that. So
It's
So I have a question.
yes.
Yeah.
So it says, as you know, the water from the wellspring halts the aging process, makes us stronger, and gives certain Valkyrie visions and special powers. Mm-hmm. So does that mean are there other Kyrie that have drank from the well springs and got the first 2, but not the visions?
Probably.
Yeah, the interesting thing is Rise of the Valkyrie, when it first came out, right? That was back in 2004. They mentioned the Valkyrie generals as this like ambiguous group of people. Like there was definitely a plural element to it. It wasn't just the Valkyrie that we knew from the cards, but they mentioned other Valkyrie generals involved in the war. And by the time that these entries even start to get written, this is 60 years after the first discovery of the Wellsprings, right? So there's a lot of conflict that are going on between 60 years up to this point, and we have generally no information regarding the Valkyrie generals, the ambiguous entity Valkyrie generals that were brought up during Rise of the Valkyrie and the release of the ones that ended up teaming up together. So they start focusing in on the ones that are on the cards at this point, and then from this point onwards, we only know about the ones from the cards. But before that, it used to just be like it could have been 10, 20, we don't even know how many Valkyrie were out there fighting for the 60 years up to this point. So, if that makes sense. It's like,
okay.
Yeah. Think Civil War, everyone's hitting each other until they start teaming up at this point. Yeah.
And that means a lot of Kyrie, a lot of residents in Valhalla have probably perished,
Oh yeah.
to put it lightly. And that's why they're bringing in that's probably one of the reasons why they're bringing in now heroes and villains from like throughout space and time, basically.
Time to team up because they're losing the war individually on each of their own fronts. So this is when they start teaming up because they know they can't do it without help.
It would be so fun, and they probably, I don't know, I have to like do research on like lore stories, but it would be fun to like have like official read-ups of like each Valkyrie general and have like novels, based off of them.
Yeah,
that would be fun, like pre history, because really it's like it's almost would be like a story gold mine, like in the sense of like Lord of the Rings. If someone would write it up in the sense of like the Silmarillion is, and to give an account and a story of these things happening. Oh my gosh, I'd eat that up.
Right.
I'd absolutely eat that up. And I'm sure that there are like fan lore of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And we'll talk about
Definitely.
that in future podcasts. But for like official stuff, you just get a good, writer or a good team of writers to start producing novels. I mean, like Warhammer 40K. Don't you think people, as long as it's written good, don't you think people would eat that up? Eventually.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Probably.
it would gain attention.
Especially combine that with the alphabet that we got through AOA.
Yeah.
If you have the pages on there and you have the the text with all the cool stuff. Because I mean I look at that once in a blue moon. I'm like, should I use this should I make a post on my social media using this text? I eventually will, but I don't know. I think something like that was really cool for them to introduce.
Yeah.
I think that was neat.
Yeah. I think one thing that stood out too, while the emergency vehicles are driving by my house, is that Utgar is ruthless. He is very, because you see a glimpse of that to where you see, and hello, I'm Dan Pick. I'll get to your comment in a second. I see there's something written in this first paragraph in entry 11 here, that it says that, let's see here, we need their help in the war against Utkar. Weeks ago I sent emissaries, but I have had visions that they were intercepted and executed. Utkar's forces are growing. Intercepted and executed by who? Well, obviously Utkar's forces. So we see just a real glimpse of how ruthless Utkar is. I mean, there is no quarter for him. I think his a novel on him, it'd probably be novels, would be very interesting to see how you rose to this level, because I mean a lot of people
they were picked. Yeah,
a lot of people say Utkar is just evil just because he is. There's no other backstory than that, really, officially. Let's see here. I want to see. Damp Pick says, I always thought Heroscape could have expanded outside board gaming. Books exist for Lego Bionicle, and I love Lego Bionicle. I used to follow Lego Bionicle quite a bit when I was younger.
Bionicle is top notch.
Yeah, the comics from that. So fun. Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, much more. Yeah, I mean, lots of IPs have novels, for them, or anyone worth its salt would or is developing such, just because, I mean, people read that stuff, and especially if it's written well. So yeah, that's, I mean, I would say it's a gold mine, but it's definitely a wellspring of information that certain people would definitely would certainly drink up.
Hey, more fun.
I mean, it's one of the reasons why I made Tales of Valhalla, is because, okay, you got a lot of people that are writing their own fan lore, but I'm like, is there any visual representation of these? Nope. I volunteer. Okay. So yeah. Anyway, Hasbro, not Wizards of the Coast, Avalon Hill, if you're listening, yeah, there's something. Okay, something to add on to your checklist of a already probably growing checklist. All right, and anything else, guys? Anything else before we move on from this?
I'm happy.
All right,
got my answers.
Joe's happy. Okay, don't have to go any further than 11 then. Okay, Joe is happy. He's totally
satisfied.
Totally not mind shackled. He can wait for another 2 weeks now. So okay. Great. That's great. All right, so that has been Thormun's journal entry number 10 and 11 for the ToV podcast segment. All right, and now we are moving on to the next segment, which is exploring a hero or a squad. And tonight we will be looking and talking about the Air Elemental, and this is definitely one character that I do use for Tales of Valhalla. And well, I mean, let's just read on it first before we start passing judgments, because that's what I was just about to do. Okay, so the Air Elemental, Jandar is a Valkyrie general. It's an elemental, of course, common hero. A construct, a relentless, medium 4 height. With 1 life, 5 spaces as a move, range of 1, attack of 3, defense of 3. 30 points. 30 points. I don't know if anybody heard that because I covered my mouth, so I want to make sure my microphone picked that up. And special abilities, Swirling Vortex. When an opponent's small or medium figure moves onto a space within 2 clear sight spaces of an air elemental you control, that figure must end its move there. Figures can never move through any figure affected by Swirling Vortex. And you have Air Mastery. Figures that have the flying or stealth flying special power subtract one from their defense dice when attacked by an air elemental. And then there's stealth flying. When counting spaces for an air elemental's movement, ignore elevations. An air elemental may fly over water without stopping, pass over figures without becoming engaged, and fly over obstacles such as ruins. If an air elemental is engaged when it starts to fly, it will not take any leaving engagement attacks. So this is one of the elementals that, of course, like Kuruk the Elementalist can control. Let me see. Look at just real quick. Kuruk is the can combine there. Anything else do you think that would be important for when it comes to gameplay for this elemental, based on its stats?
You mean Swirling Vortex being a pain in the butt?
Yeah, Swirling Vortex is so fun. What do you mean?
Because we don't have the elemental, but we have the custom. I forgot what it has that same ability where it's like you can't attack it from, or you can't move into its its range. You can't move into that
It just it stops you basically.
Yeah, and it's like, bro, what am I supposed to do? And then I was reading down here, and it's talking about how flying characters can essentially just just forget that. And then Toolbox Ra, Sergeant Drake's Grapple Arm, Sun Shadow's Phase Step, Marrow Drudges, Shaolin Monks, and of course Earth Elementals. And I'm sure there's a lot more there that can essentially stop that. So, that's good to know.
Yeah.
The
Very
rules
rule heavy.
Yeah, the rules and clarifications really, really help, because there's a lot of stuff like that within Heroscape that you don't really get an answer for.
You have to search it out, and
there's a lot. I mean,
that's why
I missed the FAQs.
That's why the book of Heroscape, on Heroscapers is so, because you can go below this and read discussions and other the synergies and questions that people have on the air elemental here. Yeah, for sure. So, and I know, like, when it comes to like using Kuruk in here, let me just go to synergies. We'll discuss lore in a second. Let's just go to synergies for a second. So synergies, we have Death Knights of Valkyrie, Kusamet the Dark Lord, Kuruk the Elementalist as well. Kuruk the Elementalist would be probably the biggest bet when it comes to any elemental, really. But I think if you had a choice between like an army of air elementals with Kuruk and an army of other elementals with Kuruk, would you choose the air, or would you choose something different?
I would only draft air if it, like, I think, in my opinion, air would do good in very specific map scenarios where you see tight corners that you need to hold. So because like you want to stop people in spaces where they're inconvenienced, right? And this gives you the opportunity to do that if you place it right. As it's a common hero, I mean, I think, at least in my opinion, you don't want to draft just one common hero. You're definitely if you're gonna draft air elemental, you're gonna want to draft a couple of them,
for sure,
at least 2 or 3. and then Kurok just makes it easy to move them because you can move up 3 elementals per turn using Kurok. But yeah, they ground control, space control. They can hit fly. So any flying units that are under like low defense would be devastated by this group. So like it's like if you have if you're fighting an army with like mostly winged, which I mean I'm trying to think of like any of the flying units that are like really good in groups. I don't know if there is really any.
Let me ask a question, like, because I remember when I was eliminated by Dysel with at ScapeCon last year with a dragon and some green scale warriors. Remind me the name of the dragon. I know it's one of the
Zelrig.
Yeah, Zelrig. There you go.
Oh yeah, common.
Would the air elemental be able to put a stop to like Zelrig a little bit? In that
mainly because Zelrig has a flying, so the Zelrig would roll 1 defense less if you manage to get the air elemental within attacking position, because it doesn't have ranged, so you have to be able like somehow lock the opponent in a place and then be able to move the air elementals forward in a way that's like it could happen if you're lucky.
I don't think it's stopping it.
I don't know how much of a counter.
It doesn't stop.
You're rolling 1 defense.
Yeah.
You're not. That's not. I mean, look. I played against that Mike Oreo. I fought against him a couple weeks ago against Zelrig, and I had a bunch of commons. I had the dividers, and I'm just rolling 1 the entire time. And sure, I was able to sell divide. Which did not happen as often as I thought it would be, but
that always happens that way with Cell Divide.
I think no matter what, if you're taking, I mean, Zelrig is an exact counter to Squadscape,
right?
And even though the elementals aren't a full squad army, you do play them like a squad in a sense, but there is a difficult place in the meta right now for this type of army. I don't have an experience with it. I think. Jason, you're the only one with experience. You played it at ScapeCon, right? This was the army that we played in multiplayer Madness, right?
You mean Jeremy?
Not me. I was at ScapeCon, so
yeah.
All right, sorry. Yeah, my bad. Right, Jeremy?
Yeah, I did use. I was playing with all the separate ones, the multiple ones, and I don't. Yeah, air was really difficult to use. I found more use in like fire and earth mainly, especially just playing them all together. And I was kind of being silly because I hadn't played Heroscape in like years up to that point, so I was just like, "Hey, these look cool," and I don't recommend. Don't use my.
No, they're a super awesome combo.
Yeah, it's a good combo, but definitely I think they shine better in terms of like multiples because they are the commons.
Oh, for sure. And I think that goes for any elemental. As well, you wouldn't want to send a single elemental.
Firestorm army.
Yeah,
I won Speedscape with Firestorm. That was fun.
And I think the finals at ScapeCon 2 for like the main event, there was a guy. I think it was. I don't remember I know his name was Mike too. I think he had brought Kurok and a bunch of elementals.
It's just a good army. It's really solid.
Yeah,
you can see the. What I like to say, because they had various development teams throughout the history of Heroscape, and this was Colby Dodge, this was Truth's work, right? Truth, Grunge Bob, and those members who were members of the Heroscape community from very early, and then molded into the development industry, and were working with Wizards of the Coast directly to make these characters. You can kind of see the experience of them playing the game embedded in these cards, because some of these powers are crazy good. Like if you know how to play them right,
like,
you can see some devastating combos that took it took years of games to get to that point, right? Like if you didn't actually have players making these characters, I don't think they would have these kind of powers. But because they had played so many games up to this point, they were like, okay, now we know what we need, and this is where these characters come from. So it's like I do enjoy the Wave 11 through 13's characters specifically because of you can see the playtesting prowess. Like you can tell they've been playing that game a lot, and then you get these crazy combos. You're like, oh wow, okay. So elementals are really, really good touch things.
Yeah. And I think the point value too, as long as you know how to use them.
Oh yeah,
it's got a wonderful point value to where, I mean, you can make a headache by just having basically a squad's worth of them with you.
Yeah, they didn't have common heroes as significant as like these groups that came out during these last 3 waves, because I think the only common heroes at the time prior to this was the Swag Rider and the Dumatef Guard, and that was it. Everything else was like uniques or common squads. So this like completely changed everything about the game. Like it just gave a complete new dynamic, new play mode, and everything. And
for sure,
it was just really cool.
For sure, and attack 3, defense 3, that's not a bad shake, really. I mean, there's one life for sure, but 3, like I said, 3 or 4 tends to be the good sweet spot. So especially if you add like for defense, like elevation or attack elevation. So 3 or 4, give or take where you are on the battlefield. That's a pretty good sweet spot for a miniature as well. And movement 5 spaces. Oh yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah,
just kind of thinking broadly about these guys, like because they're points wise, they're effectively an individual squad figure. 30 points for those stats is basically one member of a squad. So if you had 3 of them, 90 points, you're looking at a squad. But it would seem like if you had 3 common heroes, unless you're running like Kurok with his elemental ability, you're paying for a squad, but you're getting not the order efficiency of a squad, because when you issue an order, you're only moving 1 of the 3, versus if it's a normal squad, you move all 3 and get 3 movements, 3 attacks. So I guess I'm confused as to why you would do that strategy unless you're running Kurok, or is that the idea? Use him.
Yeah, you'd use Kurok with him.
Kurok made it.
Kurok is the main idea. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend using like any elemental as a squad in any of the army without Kurok. I mean, I'm sure it's possible. Maybe, I don't know. Someone in someone chat or comments like comment on that. If
people played them. I feel like people played them because they came out in March, right? And then Kurok didn't come out until like June, July-ish of the same year. So there was like 3 months of games where the elementals were on their own, and I'd imagine that was probably just a bunch of frustrated moments of like, what do I even do with these? Like, because you have to each use an separate order marker and everything.
Is there anything C3V that? No, not really. So there's really no other like elementalist type controller.
No, there is.
Is there for C3V?
Did they update?
Yeah, but not for them though. It's for other characters.
Okay.
Other elementals.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. For them.
Oh yeah, for them. Sorry, yeah. Because there is an elementalist, but he does it for like large and huge elemental characters, or I should say, no, not structures.
For other elemental characters that have C3V, right? Basically.
No, there's I can't think of the term. It starts with an S, not structure. Can't think of the term they use.
Definitely not in my head. I don't know.
Constructs.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I mean.
The species.
I mean, he is a construct too. So.
Right.
Or the other elemental has defined construct. Yeah. But anyway, I guess it's one of those things to where I think it's a miniature that it looks cool, and it's definitely interesting, but I mean, I think most people probably pass it by for something, unless you have a Kurok the Elementalist, and then have fun just experimenting, with it, and if you have a few more, but
it's one of the, I think at least for me, because I say this as a personal element, right? Get it, element, but in terms of a lot of players, a lot of Heroscape players, members of the community were rightfully upset when this whole transition happened from what is known as classic Heroscape to D&D Heroscape, or where you're just having D&D miniatures. But the elementals were one of those few special additions that were given to the set that allowed it to have its own unique taste. And what I mean is that like these models that are on the bases aren't the original models from the game. They actually recast them in a different plastic and made them more akin to their elemental nature. So like we get the clear air elementals, whereas the original model was opaque. Like it wasn't see-through. We got see-through elementals as a result of the collaboration, and also was a reason why everyone kept buying this for D&D because
aesthetically they look really nice. They really look
the clear
really
plastic.
Nice.
The clear plastic is a unique element of the Heroscape versions of these miniatures, and I think that I always thought that was really cool. That despite the various complications that resulted from the transfer of from Milton Bradley to Wizard of the Coast, it was the guy that was in charge of Wizard of the Coast did actually have, at least the person that was in charge of the liaison between the two groups, right? He did have a desire to give Heroscape its own like flair, its own flavor, and it wasn't just D&D. It was D&D elements in Heroscape, and he did that by casting it in a new plastic and bringing out those unreleased miniatures, which was really, really cool. So I think his name is Paul Barclay was the guy that was doing that. Appreciate you. You helped make these decisions. You're awesome. Thank you for your help and making them cool.
For sure. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to animate them for ToV, because they look like really nice, and they're it's so fun to write a story around them, and use them, because I realized what I could use them for, and with the the magic of filmmaking, bring that together. So yeah, for sure. Undamped Pick says in the chat here, I have 3 of each small elementals and still have a sealed set that I picked up 4 or 5 years ago for $30. Yeah,
the dream.
Oh yeah, that's a steal. It says, yeah, love those minis. Yeah, like I said, aesthetically they're fair, and the air elemental itself, I mean, is just a very, very nice. Oh wait a second. Okay, yeah, go ahead. There. Let's see, there Jeremy has.
He's got
one right there, just saying hello.
Camera screen. There you go.
But anyway, okay, so lore, which is probably gonna be a short conversation, but let's wrap things up with lore a little bit. Let's see here. I got let's see here. Usually it's written in blue here on the Books of Heroscape. I'm just gonna read what's in blue a second. This is what it says. It says, character bio from Truth's front page description. The air elemental is a Jandar summoned common hero that truly halts any forward movement up on the battlefield. While flying figures can fly over its swirling vortex, they will feel the wrath of its air mastery power. That's just describing the stats.
Yeah, and hate me if you want. I'll take the beef. I'll take the heat from the community.
Just give it a tiny.
That's not a character bio, y'all. I don't know why you called it that. Sorry.
I wasn't mocking at all.
That was a. They literally just copy pasted Truth's description.
Right. Yeah, that's what they say.
Post, which is cool. Like, so I do think it's cool that we were getting the previews, right? Mm-hmm. And I never understood precisely why it was difficult for them to not write bios for these characters. Granted, we were getting into Dungeons & Dragons, which had been around far longer than Valhalla had been, right? We're talking about, Dungeons & Dragons is like 30 plus years now, right? So I get it, right? They're like, oh my gosh, so much to read. But that was the whole concept of D&D, was to make your own thing out of it, right? And I was like, you could have borrowed the stuff, and you could have made something cool with Heroscape, and you could have posted that too, and no, they didn't, and I was like sad. I've been sad ever since. But I will do a quick rundown. I promise. I'm not gonna take the rest of the podcast to do this. I promise it'll be within a few minutes. So, right, I promise. I worked very hard to compose this into a tiny form of information, accessible information. But, so we know that the air elemental, as do the other elementals, come from the planet Toril, right? And Toril is the name of the planet that comprises the Forgotten Realms campaign setting, right? So to those that are unfamiliar with that, it is the entire universe that is usually played when you play Dungeons and Dragons. Forgotten Realms is the default, but they've done other realms which you have seen in Heroscape, right? Because they have Eberron as well, right? That's a different campaign setting. So Toril is the campaign setting of the Forgotten Realms. Okay. Forgotten Realms has been around since 1967. It's an old place, right? It's been around for a while. They've changed the world a lot. It's pretty cool. This place is connected to you got the planet, right? And then it's connected to things called planes, right? If you're with me here still. These planes are definitions of reality, right? And one of these definitions of reality, one of these planes, is known as the elemental chaos. Oh my God, Brian, you're
I'm into this. I'm very into this. Yeah.
I guess. The elemental chaos, right, is where these beings originate, right? They come out of the matter of the elemental chaos, and then they enter into the prime material plane, which it comprises the world of Toril. Okay.
I don't know why I decided to go Vanna, but I'm going Vanna White tonight. Okay, so
That's
I'm
funny.
just roll with it. Just roll with it. Okay.
I love the It's like interpretive dance, you know, like it's abstract. It's all abstract. Now from that point, right, this is where it kind of becomes reliant on the DM to provide details, because then you as the DM would construct the reason why the elemental would be here in Toril, what it was doing, and this is why I was like, yeah, they could have totally wrote something. Because then they could say it came from the elemental chaos, was available in Toril, Jandar summoned it to Valhalla, and then, you know, it further explains what they were talking about in Age of Annihilation, where the Valkyrie had this, like, all this cosmic power where they could literally poke at various universes at this point, and they were pulling things from different universes into this world, and just, yeah, you're fighting for me now. It's like, what? That's crazy. So they're basically tools. You know, they're the way they describe them is like fragments of creation given sapience, and they literally exist to return the world to chaos. They have really no other purpose. They're not unless they're stronger. They tend to just be foot soldiers in the armies of the beings known as the Primordials, which that was the name of the package that they came out of. So I was like, man, they could have done that primordial stuff. You know, once again, personal issue. But yeah, foot soldiers of the Primordials, they exist to return the world to chaos. Most of the time, if they're not controlled by somebody, they're causing issues, destroying things, returning everything to the primal state of existence. And most of the time, you just set them off like on a group of adventurers, or if they're being summoned by the cults that use them. They're varied uses, right?
Right.
But that's my condensed version. I promise that is actually very, very. I'm proud of myself, because I could have kept going. There's a lot more to that, but I cut it up into very tiny consumable bits.
Seems to me like Mystic Nature's own vacuum cleaner.
Yes.
These guys.
Yeah. And think of it like, you know how, what's the term? Oh my gosh, I was thinking something physics. You know, everything they're saying everything returns to entropy, right? It's like everything is always like giving out energy and stuff like that. They exist to bring everything back to the original state that the universe was at, which was everything.
I'm just thinking stuff in my own head what I might do for future seasons of ToV now.
Yeah, no, the elemental
flashback
really
when
fun.
they got sucked up.
Elemental lore is really fun.
Or what their purpose is, you know, what the purpose should be.
Right. Yeah, they could. That's why I was like,
are they trying to live outside of the purpose that was given to them to something for their own individual cells. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
It's
Oh,
an interesting thing
there's-
to explore. So
Mhm.
yeah, for sure.
And fun fact. One fun fact. This isn't lore related so much as it just like fun little timing thing, right? As I was doing research for this little panel entry, because I was like, all right, how do I condense this into bite-sized chunk? I found out that Heroscape actually got the original models of the elementals before they even made monster entries for the original elementals in 4th edition D&D. And I was like, wait, what? Like, how? Because the 4th edition D&D came out in 2008, right? And then we were getting these characters in 2010. But they didn't release the elemental entries until the summer of that year. So Heroscape got these first before they even put them in OG D&D. And I'm like, whoa. So that was super cool. Fun fact of the day. Little timeline twisties there. But I thought that was pretty cool because they release a lot of books. D&D has a lot of books. And they have 5 editions. Yeah, so I was going through a lot today. I had a lot to read.
For sure. Well, hey, thank you so much for doing that research that we
I got you.
the rest of us don't do. I'm not criticizing us. I'm just you're the guy when it comes to that. So
I was in a rabbit hole. I was in a rabbit hole for about 2 hours. I will let you know. I had at least 20 tabs open doing this thing. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. No, I appreciate it so much.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it, but there's a lot of information out there about this thing, and I was like, and they didn't use any of it.
well, Jeremy, we have 3 other elementals to review sometime in the future, so you'll have opportunity, of course, to talk about them again. So, and any other thoughts? Any other thoughts before we close this segment about the air elemental?
The air elemental will blow you away.
Facts. Yes.
I got one possibly long, hopefully not too long of an answer question here.
Okay.
So what happened that would allow Jandar to summon a bunch of these things where they all died at once, kind of or is he just got to pick them off the Dungeons and Dragons battlefield as they died or something?
Yeah, that's
pulled
the
a bunch
thing.
of them in the world.
If it's either death or like they were involved in some sort of conflict that was going to go poorly for them, I assume. Because for the most part, every character that we read about was summoned at the point of death, or at the point of a distinct conflict. Some characters were like rescued right before those conflicts happened, things like that. But
rescued.
Yeah, rescued in quotations. We don't know. It's a lot of time shenanigans going on that that was the whole fun with Age of Annihilation. They were going to get into that, show you why you don't do that. But either something they either got lost, right? Because they did that with the Romans. The Romans got lost and then showed up in Valhalla, or you have they're at like a point of near death or a point of near destruction, and then Jandar just happens to see them or has seen them a couple times, and he's like, you know what? Those look cool. Come and help me instead, and just start plucking them out of the with his wellspring powers. So it could have gone various ways. They could have done a really cool concept. Like I was thinking in my brain when I was writing out the notes and stuff, I was thinking like maybe they're messing around with the well springs and the primordials are like, we could use this, and send the elementals through, and they're like, we're gonna tell the elementals to help the Valkyrie in their war as a way to secretly end up taking control later on, and be like, because that's the thing, primordials just want to turn everything back to chaos, and I'd imagine wellsprings are a really easy tool to do that with. So they could probably be like, hey, send my soldiers through the wellsprings with everything else, and just
could be the wellspring's goal anyway.
Right.
We don't know what the end game for
no idea
the wellsprings are. So yeah.
So it's like that was what D&D was always an idea of, like, if you got a cool idea, write it out and use these themes with it. And then I was like, man, they could have done so much cool stuff with Heroscape D&D.
Again, write stuff. Write novels.
Right.
Novels. All right. So anyway.
So much info.
All right. So if there's nothing else to be said, then I will close this segment and fun discussion over the elementals. And I mean, there's 3 other other elementals we'll definitely talk about in future podcasts. So we'll probably be back on this discussion.
You're saying
again.
we're leaving the audience on a cliffhanger again, Ryan? Oh my god!
Joe,
Look, it's
Joe,
incentive.
Have
Hey,
you
Joe,
seen
Joe,
my show?
It's incentive.
Have you seen my
Incentive
show?
to come back next 2 weeks.
Joe, have you seen my
No,
show?
For alphabetical order, that'll be a lot of
Cliffhanger, the limited series.
Anyway, okay, so this has been looking at the air elemental from the squads and heroes of Heroscape. Until next time. All right, now we are moving on to the main segment tonight, which is basically titled Marshmallows. Now, who doesn't like marshmallows? You know how I like to eat my marshmallows? With a toothpick. Okay.
I mean, that'd be kind of hard to do in front of a fire. If you had a fire elemental, okay, and you were trying to roast some marshmallows.
I like
with
the
a toothpick,
mini
I'm
marshmallows.
pretty sure you're gonna get
the mini marshmallows. I like the mini marshmallows, the tiny ones.
So, like I was saying, if you try to roast those over a fire, I'm pretty sure your fingers are gonna get burnt, and that's not really safe. You need a really long wooden stick, Ryan.
See, but the fire elemental would be happy because that's its entire purpose is to burn everything, right?
What if I had a? What if I had
like
a? What if I had
Pokemon
a,
where you chooses not to?
What if I had a toothpick carrying a wooden stick?
See, but toothpick wants to befriend the elementals. This is where it gets even worse. Because then, if the fire elemental wanted to burn the marshmallow, toothpick would let it.
But he would just eat
'Cause
the
they're
marshmallow,
friends.
not the elemental. And the elementals don't eat, so toothpick gets all the marshmallows.
Right.
Well, anyway, Ryan, introduce us to Marshmallows'
All right.
description of what the story is actually about.
Yes, exactly.
then,
So Ryguy 266. Now, I mean, for those of you who've been listening to the podcast, you are familiar with this author now because we have read a few of his short stories. And actually, the last ToV podcast, we read Silence, reviewed it, and apparently, Ryguy watched our review and decided to write another story from that because I said something in the last podcast, basically challenging any lore story out there, but Ryguy as well, that include the Airborne Elite in the story, specifically the ToV version of Airborne Elite. I think that would be kind of a fun thing to do, and guess what? He did. So I figured, okay, let's do this. Let's read through this then. And Joe, you're gonna have to give me the honors this time because I just I got it. I got it. So anyway, how about Joe? Here's what I'll do first. How about you read the intro to Marshmallows, and then I'll read the short story itself. How about that?
All right. This story is partly to address a critique from the ToV podcast, and partly to show off the badassery of Kamanawa. This game was from an OHS playoff game between Mega Silver and myself. It was brought to mind because ToV requested some Airborne, and this game was funny because the Airborne, redacted, and Kamanawa essentially soloed an entire army. This one is definitely less serious, and I hope ToV doesn't mind me infringing on their IP. This was their idea, after all. This story wouldn't be the same without the Aftermath Chronicles. Enjoy.
Now, when I first read that just brought a tear to my eye. When I first, I'm just like, oh, that's so nice. I'm just like, no, I don't mind at all. And matter of fact, I'll have more to say when I'm done finishing the story. But how about we read through this, okay? All right, so we start. Kamanawa leaned against a tree. The rough palm bark, and of course, this is titled Marshmallows. And it's such a convenient, that's such a Tales of Valhalla title. Just, Anyway, Cayman Awa leaned against a tree, the rough palm bark scraping into his armor. This area was supposed to be clear, yet jungle brush spread throughout the cracked roads and desolate pillars. A holy site, or a trading market. Whatever once stood, it had succumbed completely to nature. How old were those reports that they still marked sniper positions? No. A different approach was necessary. The Morrow scouting advance would stay hidden for now, but stealth was a closer friend to Cayman. He advanced down the road, bow drawn. Wind rustled the jungle brush, the breeze cooling his back. Good. A strong tailwind would only expedite the arrival of his support. The leaves twisted and bent. Cayman drew his bow, firing into the bark of a tree. Branches settled, but his bowstring remained taut. That was no wind. Guttural cries pierced the howls of the wind as creatures tore themselves from the trees. Clawing and slicing at Cayman, he let loose arrows shredding the leaves, but the projectiles embedded themselves in the trees instead. The humanoids lunged at him again, extending themselves into the road, and this time the arrows thudded into their skulls. He pulled the arrows from the bodies and knocked them into his bow as more howls echoed around him. Being surrounded here. And here we go. Drop zone is approaching, Lieutenant Dan barked. Cayman Awa is solo in enemy territory, and he needs an extraction ASAP. Yes, sir, Henderson and Gimp fastened their parachutes as the airship dipped in the strong winds. Sir? What's an extraction? Toothpick asked. Wind speeds are not ideal, Lieutenant Dan continued, ignoring him. But we're well past listening to sense. That man down there is the strongest warrior Einar has. We're not letting him go down without a fight. Yes, sir, Toothpick shouted, reaching to his belt and pulling the pin on a grenade. Toothpick! Cayman raced through the jungle brush, hacking at the plant creatures with his sword. The distant thunder grew louder, drowning out the wind. He drew his bow again, letting loose arrows down the slope. The roar hit him like a tidal wave, knocking him to his feet. Ice crystals hung from his snapped bowstring, and his metal armor bit into his skin. He gasped, diving behind a tree as 3 vicious heads snapped at him. He lunged over the chimera's wings, running along the scales and plunging his sword into its back. The heads twisted and flailed as the blizzard blasted him from the monster. He slid to a stop as an explosion rocked the forest. Where the hell were the Airborne Elite? That might be the dumbest thing you've ever done, Henderson said, looking at the crater far below. And I once saw you trying to pet a rock. I swear it was moving, Toothpick insisted. Doesn't matter, Lieutenant Dan said, pulling himself to the side of the airship. This is our opening, now or never. Wait, Toothpick cried as Gimp leaned out to the side. Can't you read me a bedtime story first? Cayman leaned against the tree, his eyes closed. Once glance he could picture the whole glade. One crunch on a blade of grass, and he could picture the Morrow stepping in just the right spot. He whipped around, releasing the bow. Thump! The Morrow's body crumpled to the ground. He spun back behind the tree, picturing the other's confusion. What was the weapon? Where did the arrows come from? Were there more? Yes, there were. He leaned from behind the tree. Thump! The Morrow returned fire, blasting wildly in his direction. Thump. The firing slowed. The last of them retreating. Thump. He drew his sword as a winged shadow fell over the tree. Toothpick, what's gotten into you? A bedtime story? It's the middle of the afternoon. We've got to drop right now. Toothpick averted his eyes from the lieutenant. You know how you told me to pack the parachutes? And remember how I said I wanted to bring a snack along for the flight? Henderson unstrapped his chute, turning the bag upside down to empty its contents. Marshmallows spilled from the bag and scattered over the floor. I almost jumped too, Gimp said, opening his pack to find even more marshmallows. Where did you even find marshmallows on Valhalla? Lieutenant Dan asked, too stunned to be angry. Well, you know how the air elementals look so fluffy? They have some cousins called the marshmallow mentals, and they just poop these things out wherever they go. Lieutenant Dan buried his head in his hands. Turn the ship around, Nesbit, he said, looking out into the jungle. God help him. I think he was talking about Toothpick there. Swords clashed as the wind raged. Kamen swung at the hooded Kyrie, who blocked every blow with powerful strikes. The weight of the battle pressed on the samurai, and one last hit snapped his sword in half. The Kyrie thrust, slicing through Kamen's stomach. Ah! He gasped, crumpling to the ground. The Kyrie stepped over him, raising his sword. The hood fell away, pulled back by the maelstrom. For the glory of Utgar, Konkan intoned. A huge hammer smashed into Konkan's wings. The air shimmered and waved as the sentinels of Grax blipped in and out, slicing and crushing the Kyrie. One final blow rent Konkan's skull asunder, and he fell to the grass next to Kamen. The silent sentinels held out their hands, pulling Kamen to his feet. Kamen bowed, and they bent low as well, their robes flowing, disappearing, and regenerating. As they escorted him back to the path and pulled away from the jungle, Kamen looked to the sky, wondering what this betrayal would mean.
All right. Very nice.
I got such a kick from this. I mean, and even while reading it, I mean, it was hard not to laugh because, well, first of all, Ryguy, I'm going to give you an offer right now, because whenever I assemble a team, because I want to assemble a team of people to write future seasons of Tales of Valhalla, or produce, make future seasons of Tales of Valhalla whenever I get around to that in the coming years. And I already had people picked out, for writers, for writers' advisors or whatever. But I'm going to tell you right now, you just got yourself an offer, my friend. It's out there. Because, I mean, it's not perfect, but you got the Airborne Elite pretty good with their personalities, and how they would say something. So yeah, nicely done. Nicely done. Now, I like it how he includes where is it? Nesbit. It's like Nesbit is carrying them around, yeah, for them to drop, and to have Toothpick throw a grenade and explode. Although it doesn't mention in the story that he hit anything when it blew up the ground. It probably didn't. It's probably like yeah. Everybody fighting on the ground just looks over like, oh, that happened, and nothing.
See, and then imagine what's crazy is that because it's written from the perspective of an actual game, right? So I imagine what this is depicting is a failed grenade launch.
Right, and that explains
awesome.
The beginning. Yeah, just like the Airborne Elite didn't show up.
Yeah, they didn't even show up. Like they failed their drop move too. So it's just, that's really good.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's pretty fun. there. And just so the description, so you have that mixture of comedy, yet still the seriousness of the battle on the ground. Yeah, that was fun. Any other comments, guys, from this?
I know it's based off of an OHS game, and obviously the armies are there, but any introduction of either, well, of course AOA and of course C3V units in these stories is so awesome, because I love the Sentinels of Drax. They're really, really cool, unique squad. So it was cool to see, like, oh, Sentinels.
Nice.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, Ryguy, once again, you striking it out of the park with this one. Wonderful story. Writing is it's those little descriptive moments. Because I still have it in the back of my head the what the rock elementals from last stream
from Silence.
The within those eyes are the mountains of fear. I'm like, oh my god, it's like those little moments like that to me hook me so much, and even with this one, I think even may not be a line that powerful, but the quote here, it says they have some cousins called the Marshmallows.
It sounds like something Toothpick would say.
I know, yeah, and they just poop these things out wherever they go. It's like, you know what? That you got me with that one.
Yeah,
you had
like
me.
I said, I think reading that definitely sold me. Yep.
Yeah.
Would anyone eat that if that was the case? I hope the answer is no. But
I mean, Toothpick would. So
Toothpick wouldn't.
And Lieutenant Dan's reaction to that is just like, I mean, yeah. So Ryguy, you've definitely watched some of ToV a little bit, just because the responses, for these, to Toothpick's antics. It does sound like something Toothpick would do too. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Yeah. And anything else?
No, it's
Well
a really
done,
well
man.
done story.
I mean,
Yeah,
I love,
you can
and
see it.
all jokes aside, I do love the fighting too. When it switches back and forth, with Cayman, like just fighting against all kinds of enemies, here.
Mm-hmm.
I love the description of the action going on, and just feeling like at the end, Cayman looks towards the sky and just like feels like did I get betrayed? And now the Airborne Elite has yet another misunderstood enemy. It doesn't, it doesn't help. I mean that the INR side of things really, and at least from the ToV perspective, don't like the Airborne Elite very much anyway, since they insulted the Empress. So that's just another insult, on a list of insults now.
Causing international problems.
International incidents. Yep.
Yeah, that's very, very much on their categories.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Anyway, anything else before we wrap this up? Nada. All right. Well, I guess I just say, yeah, Ryguy, thank you so much for that. That really made my weekend. It really did. So I do appreciate that. Look forward to what you have more in the future, and hopefully in the foreseeable future, we'll be able to read some more and have another segment of that again. And anybody else out there, any lore creators or anything, like I said, I encourage, I enjoy reading what other people have in mind for things, for characters, or new characters, or however you want to do it. Yep, absolutely. So appreciate that. So that for this segment has been reading Marshmallows that apparently are poo. the short story Marshmallows by Ryguy 266. Well, very well done, sir. All right. So now that we did that segment, now we're just moving on to comments from the last live stream in here. Hold on a second. Let me bring this up because I didn't have time to set this up. So give me a second here. All right, so we got a couple comments from the last podcast, and so I'm going to be look this up. This might take us. Oh no, okay, comes in pretty good. Okay, so from G Busy, it says, Joe, thanks for shouting out the event I'm hosting in MD on the 26th. We're hoping you can make it.
I'll be there.
And Joe will be there. There you go. There's your answer. So thank you, G Busy.
He knows that.
For the comment.
He knows that.
Absolutely.
What event was that? You want to just mention it again?
Yeah, it's the Maryland event in 26th. I don't remember the exact address, but it's at a game shop called Portals.
Is that March 26th or
yes.
April?
March. Yeah. So it's this coming Sunday.
It's really soon. I can leave a description below again because I got the information from last time, so I can copy and paste those on there. No problem over that. And yeah, good luck with that event. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about it or something, Joe. In the coming week.
Yeah. The following podcast, I'll talk about it. Yeah, the next one.
Coolsies. Great. And then one more comment here from Demon Hunter Pillar P86. I do not know this guy. Yes, I do. It says, can the Mara Warriors ever be truly defeated? As Joe experienced, just send in a bunch of cowboys. As far as whether you could get a 27 defense dice, because we did this topic of discussion because I raised the question. How much defense dice could you roll? Because of, I think it was Jason's story, wasn't it? Yeah. It was your story, Jason. About like someone getting mad because they couldn't roll all the defense dice they wanted to roll.
Well, you could have 27 defense glyphs. Alternatively, you could just cheat and give yourself 27 defense dice.
Yeah. So technically, you could have a bunch of
That is
defense
a valid-
glyphs,
not
and
a
enough
valid
figures
strategy.
sitting on them to give yourself a said number of defense. And Jesus could return tomorrow as well. It's possible, but unlikely. At least at this present time. And in all serious note, though, all jokes aside, it's a possible thing. Just unlikely. And if you see it in a game, you best ask questions. A lot of questions.
Yeah, because the most you're rolling is what, 12 Valkyrie die for maybe one of the
for the flag
bearers.
bearers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, thank you, Demon Hunter Pillar P86 for the comment. And that is comments, and that is pretty much the live stream or the podcast for today. If you're listening to this on the audio sphere of the internet, check out the Tales of Hell YouTube channel, so you can see it visually if you want to, or check out links in the description below on the YouTube page there. But how about we do the close, the wrap up of us giving our final thoughts and plugging ourselves, and then we will close it out. Anybody wants to comment on the chat, I'll be happy to read any chat comments as well. So let's start with Jeremy.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to start off that way. That was bad. Yeah, just really excited to get through and talk about all these really cool concepts. Being able to revisit some of these have been fun. Definitely, in terms of release dates and stuff like that, because I was going through a lot of information when I was looking up the air elemental stuff. Excited to get more into Thormun's journal and all that stuff like that. We do have, it's being able to actually go through everything and talk about it, it's a lot of fun. Because I know this is a lot of stuff I kind of just did on my own, you know, without the presence of the internet. This fantastic giant cybernety space. Like, I'd be able to tell everybody how awesome Heroscape lore and Heroscape related lore is. So you get to hear from me about all this cool stuff. I hope that I had a random idea, and I don't know if it would be something cool for later shows or something, but I was thinking of attempting of writing some sort of like bio placeholder for the characters that never got bios, because we do have a few that don't have any, and I think it would be cool to be like, hey,
For sure.
how would this work in Heroscape? You know, just to give you a general idea, because yeah, I mean, as much as D&D is a massive world with the 40 plus years it's had something, they were using that for Heroscape, so let's use it for Heroscape. Let's see what we can pull from that. You know, super cool stuff. But yeah, just I know I'm definitely gonna be digging a lot more into that into the future. I'm excited for ScapeCon. Definitely went through. We got through all that. I think all that's been settled. So hope to see y'all there. I hope to actually take more photos this time around. I hope to actually have a better army this time around.
I think there's still some spots open, right? I think so.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I haven't actually.
Yeah.
Haven't
Somebody
had
write Mike. You know, just if you're interested in going.
Yeah.
I mean, just check it out and see if there's
People
still is.
dipped out.
I think out of like the list of
How dare
everybody
they?
who said
my
they
goodness.
possibly go, I think there was some spots lacking. So yeah. But anyway,
Cool.
either way, ask Mike. You know,
Hasbro's.
and see if anything's open there. Never hurts to ask.
Yeah. No, let's see. That's common. Hasbro's defense bios are a lot harder for common heroes versus a unique one. I don't know. I mean, they've done squads before, and then they did the swag rider. So I was like, I feel like it just wasn't a priority, and that's fine, because you know it's like Heroscape itself didn't really have a heavy defined universe, and that's why they were trying to codify something last year with Age of Annihilation. They were going through all of it, and how many pages was the Heroscape Bible was? Like, they said like 40 pages. So, you know, the fabled book that they wrote based on all that stuff. So, I mean, the information's there. It's just see, I'm the hyper fixated one. So that's how it's like I got all the documents on my hard drive. So I definitely don't expect anyone else to have to do that. I don't want anyone else to have to do that. I feel bad if that's bad. It's a lot of reading, but it's cool stuff. I mean, it's still cool. So, but yeah, I guess that's everything for me. If you ever have any lore questions, you can look me up on. You can check out my stuff on Twitch and YouTube, of course. The Estlin Collate. I'm also on Twitter. Haven't really posted a lot of stuff lately, but work has been getting pretty busy. I'm trying to get back into that. Hopefully, try to get some stuff done before Mother's Day, because then that's when the restaurant's gonna get busy again. But we'll see. I'll be working on some stuff. I just don't know what yet. Future plans. There you go. Yeah, give it to the next awesome individual.
Joe.
You said my name?
I
Yeah.
said your name.
Oh, I cut out there.
Oh.
I thought you said so. I didn't hear the J. Anyway, yes. Hi. It's my time.
It's my time.
So yeah. Yeah. No. Awesome stuff today. Coming up right now this week, I'll be working on some Mormonium content. Tomorrow night on my stream at Joe Crazy Twitch 3193. Not in that order. There will be. I'm going to be playing Warmonium with my girlfriend Jill. I'll be teaching her some of the ways. I'm going to be learning the ways of how to play that game. And so there's actually going to be an update soon. I think within the next 2 weeks or so. They're going to be working on the AI for the game. so you can play against yourself and the computer. So I'm very, very excited. So I want to try to get some awareness for this game out there, so people can go try it out because it's a fun one. Especially that infamous map builder is so much fun to play around with.
So good, yeah.
Nice.
Love the map builders. So check out for the channel for Womonium content. And of course, I just released. What's that?
I just want to say, and we interviewed one of the creators of Womonium too. Sometime back. Check out the podcast for that as well on YouTube or the Audiosphere as well. Yeah.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was a really, really interesting talk. Joe's an awesome guy. Their entire team, fantastic people, just good, solid, hardworking people. So it's always I'm just glad that they made this game. I'm super happy that they made the game. So keep up the good work, fellas. Keep it up. I'll be here checking it out. But also this week just released ScapeCon video, brand new ScapeCon video. I talked to Chandler.
I watched
he's a graphic designer.
I watched that today. Yeah.
He's a good guy. I like him. Yeah. Chandler's fun to talk to. He brought a pretty mean army, so I go check that one out. But and then of course, tune in next week when I come back and talk about my stories from Maryland.
2 weeks from now.
Where
two weeks.
And
2 weeks. Or are you
2 weeks.
You're on
I'm talking
channel.
about next time. No, I'm not talking about. I said next time, or did I say next week?
You said next week.
Oh, well, tune in next stream.
Next podcast.
Next podcast. I'll be talking about my adventures to Maryland and meeting a whole other crew of Heroscapers down there. Looking forward to meeting you all. Some of you I have seen from ScapeCon already. I think Vidar Ryan is out there. So
Nice.
Looking forward to seeing you again. And I'll be bringing in a pretty solid army. Very excited. And that's pretty much it. I'm looking forward to that trip. So get ready.
Kick tail.
Get ready. Yes, tall tail. But yeah, you can find me on the YouTube, Joe Crazy 3193. Weekly content coming your way, and of course on Twitch, I stream twice a week. Monday nights at 9:30 p.m. and Thursday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for both those times. And don't forget, I'm not crazy. I'm Joe Crazy. And I yield my time, Ryan.
And he's totally not mind shackled.
On to Jason. I'll pass it
Yeah,
on.
totally not.
I'll pass the talking torch.
Okay. So
Yeah, go ahead,
I guess I
Jason.
got the talking torch now.
Go ahead.
I'm not entirely sure what all those hand gestures were. I was trying to figure it out.
We're pointing to you.
Ryan's
It's all
pointing
abstract.
down, but I'm not down below Ryan. I'm off to the side.
Well,
Anyway,
I'm trying to do like a catty corner type thing from Joe to you. So yeah.
Oh, I get ya. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense now. Regardless, I don't have a whole lot of words to say to wrap things up here. I'm Jason, the creator of the Tabletop Battlefield. It's been a fun night. You can check out some of my content over at tabletopbattlefield.com or Rocker Robotics on YouTube. I'm getting ready to put what is probably the simplest and easiest Blender tutorial in the history of the world, playing off some rumors of upcoming Games Workshop products. And that's about all I'm going to do in the next week or so. So, yes.
All right. Thank you, Jason. And yes, I'm Ryan, Tales of Valhalla. Of course, help run the ToV Podcast with the help of Joe and the wonderful panel of people that we have here. And I also produce and make the stop motion animation show called Tales of Valhalla: The Aftermath Chronicles, which is a stop motion Heroscape adventure based off the board game Heroscape. And we're coming in finally to the final 3 episodes of the 3rd season, and I am happy to say that all the special effects are done. I spent also this weekend just making sure everything looks good, everything look edited, and so now I have, if Here's my goal. I'm not going to announce this yet, but here is my goal: to release episode 8 on May 3rd, episode 9 on May 7th. And when I mean release, I mean premiere, live stream premiere. Wednesday, May 3rd, Sunday, May 7th, episode 9, and then episode 10 on Wednesday, May 10th. And those are the prospective premiere dates. I have 6 weeks to get all the audios done. And when I mean audios, here's what I mean. Hold on a second. I have a list. Because of course I do. Hold on a moment. I can get it. So, voiceover syncing. All the rest of the voiceovers that I didn't add on, got to add those on. Additional voiceovers. All movement, ambient sounds, sound effects, or sounds for the effects. I got to get the end credits, color correction. Got to apply the music. Those are the main things I got to do. Can I do it in 6 weeks? We'll see. I'm definitely. I have a lot to do. There'll definitely be a lot of nights to where I'm going to be up late again. But this is it. This is the last gasp. This is the last run to complete this. And I will be happy and overjoyed when it's done. Just one more run from these past basically 10 years of getting this out there. So yeah. So every Sunday and every Wednesday, if it's not ToV Podcast, on every other Sunday, you're going to be live streaming, editing this into the night, as well as Wednesdays. I edit the Tales of Halla show into the night as well, so you get updates that way. Conversation. I got people like coming sometimes, just commenting on how I do stuff about life, whatever. I don't mind having a conversation while I edit. So come on and join up. And yeah, just I can't wait to premiere this stuff. If I hit that premiere goal, and just reflect on the whole process and what this has been and meant to y'all. So I do look forward to that in the future. But I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry yet. I'm not done. I still got things I do. But just I mean, I've shown some of these guys like some of the effects, a couple of the video clips. It looks cool, right? I mean,
it's very cool.
It just
very cool. Ryan's been working so hard on this. So give him the attention and the gratitude for all his hard work. He absolutely deserves it.
Yeah, episode 10 in itself, like I'll give this. Episode 10 is going to be a half hour length of time.
And
damn. I worked on, it was over 150 composite effect shots for that one episode, not including episodes 8 and 9 as well, effect shots. That's why it took a while, because it was a lot of shots done, but I needed them done by this last week, and I did. So good. All right, on to the next goal. All right, anyway, so with that being said, and you can check out seasons 1, 2, and what's completed of season 3 on the Tales of Halla YouTube page. And if there's no link, just check out YouTube search bar, type Tales of Valhalla, and you'll find me. All right, so with that, I thank you everybody for watching, everybody commenting in the chat tonight, and feel free to leave a comment below so we might talk about it next time as well. Have a wonderful night, wonderful week, everybody, and we will see you the next time we see you doing the ToV Podcast. And here, let me bring this up. Oh, yes. And I have to end it this way, don't I? Because I usually end... Oh, my goodness. I'm just, like, messing up tonight. You have a purpose in your life. Find it, pursue it, live it. We'll see you guys next time. Bye now.
Peace.